Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode. There is a popular saying in the media world that bad news sells. And I believe there's a lot of truth in it because magazines and electronic media that peddle bad news tend to have good audience. Their ratings are always high. So why does bad news sell? And how does that influence our ability to walk in gratitude as people? There's a saying by Peter Diamandis, and he says, bad news sells because the amygdala, that's part of our brain that helps us to process our environment, is always looking for something to fear. So how does that influence our ability to be grateful or to walk in gratitude?
Lord, you are the fountain of life, restorer of my soul. I worship you today. Lord, you are the fountain of life, restorer of my soul. I worship you today. Lord, you are the fountain of life, restorer of my soul. Worship you today. Lord, you are the fountain of life, you restore my soul.
This is your host, Zuta, and I welcome you to today's episode as we discuss how to walk in gratitude. You see, biologically, we tend to gravitate towards bad news, and it is more because of how we are designed. There is part of us that will always want to look out for us, that is, try to pick information that is around us, interpret it, and helps us to process whether that is something we should run away from or is something that we should embrace. And that is the amygdala. So it's a center that practically helps us to see something either through the eye of safety or through the eye of insecurity or through the eye of fear. And it controls our flight or fight syndrome. Because of that, we are constantly looking for threats, things that make us unsafe. And our immediate reaction is fear, and that prompts us to do something about the situation. This tends to impact how we relate to things in our lives, whether in the past or even how we interpret what the future looks like. And because of that, it influences our ability to walk or live a life of gratitude. There are many people in our world today who are naturally grateful people. They show appreciation quite naturally, and they are just thankful. But for the vast majority of us, being thankful or grateful takes a lot of effort. Whole lot of effort. So we need to make a conscious decision, or we need to put in a lot more effort when it comes to living a life of gratitude or focusing on the good. Being able to see the good around us, because biologically we are prompted to always look for what is bad or what is threatening or what we should fear. It takes a conscious effort. Gratitude, therefore, is a learned behavior. We have to teach the amygdala and all the psychological processes and all the processes within our system that, hey, it's okay. Even though this was a bad experience, there is some good that have come out of it. So you don't need to be afraid of it. So what are some of the things that we can do to help us to live a life of gratitude. And this will come in handy when we are looking at the detriments of not being grateful, or how, if we live a life of ingratitude or being unthankful, what it does to us. There are many, many downsides to that. But for today, I just want us to look at some of the things that we can do to help us to live a life of gratitude. And they are just 4 simple steps, and they are no means the end and everything. I'm sure you might have heard about some of these things through some other, forum. But largely, what I want to say is, God encourages us, as we saw from last episode, to live a life of gratitude. So the question is, what are some of the simple things that we can do to help us to be able to do that? The first step that I want us to focus on is being able to focus on the little things that are around us. Those things that we may think they don't matter, but they also carry a gem of good that we can focus on. Remember, our whole objective in gratitude is to focus on the good, to count the good. You see, it's easy to be grateful when you've won the lottery, but your number just came up and you won some big mega dollars. So easy to be grateful. It is so also easy to be grateful when somebody walks to your door and hands you the key to an expensive car that you've dreamt about all your life. Ooh, you're just going to celebrate. Jump and let all the neighbors know you have the latest ride in town. Those big moments elicit gratitude. It's just natural, spontaneous. But what about the little moments? So if you are going to practice a lifestyle of gratitude, you don't only have to focus on the big things, but also on the little things. A friend stopped by your house and had a conversation with you. Do you see that as a good thing? Does it create some excitement or joy inside your heart? It sure did, but you never counted it as a good thing. Or maybe for once, your child came to your room and said, "Good morning, Dad, how are you doing?" Those little moments that maybe you might think doesn't compare to winning the lottery or getting a good deal, on something you have desired for so long, they are crucial. So you need to catalog. That is, look into your day, the 8 hours or 12 hours that you've been awake. What are some of the good things that happen? Being mindful of those things sets you on the path to a life of gratitude. I've seen people who maybe they come back from work and the only thing they can talk to their family about, or whoever will be listening, is how awful the day was. The question is, do you think the whole 8 hours of your day was that bad? That one bad conversation somebody had with you over a data or over some report shouldn't overshadow everything that happened in the day. After all, you got to work safely. You didn't have an accident. You had lunch. You are still breathing. So instead of focusing on that one big bad thing that happened, catalog everything that happened, all the little good things that happen in your day, and see how that changes your mood. It sure does. Suddenly, that one big bad thing that happened with that conversation fades to the background. So you could do that, even looking at nature. Last week we had a very beautiful day. If you know the part of the world where I live, in Western Washington, where we only have like 53 sunny days in a year. If you have one big bright sunny day, it changes everything, irrespective of whatever is happening around us. Experiencing the sun on my skin, driving my car with my sun shield down, my windows down, and enjoying the sound of other cars or the birds singing, that overshadows every other thing that happens. times. So sample those little moments in life, catalog them, focus on them. That helps to set you on the path of a life of gratitude. The other thing that you could do to help you to live a life of gratitude is to count the things that you are grateful for in life. Besides the little things that have happened in your day, look at your entire life and focus on the good things that has happened. There is a typical example in the scriptures about how somebody used those moments and God noticed it. Jesus noticed it. And that is important. In the book of Luke chapter 17, Jesus healed 10 lepers. And this is a classic example of why God, or to tell us that God expects us to be grateful. From the verse 15 of Luke chapter 17. Now the Bible says, verse 14 downwards talks about the healing process. So the people, the 10 lepers were healed, and they were going to show themselves to the priest to be certified that they are no more leprous. Now as they went on the way, verse 15, one of them, when he saw that he was healed, returned and with a loud voice glorified God. Verse 16, and fell down on his face at his feet being Jesus' feet, giving him thanks, and he was a Samaritan. Verse 17, so Jesus answered and said, were there not 10 cleansed? But where are the 9? Were there not any found who returned to give glory to God except this foreigner? And he said to him, arise, go your way, your faith has made you well. There's so much that we can unpack from these few verses, but I just want to dwell on verse 15. It says, and one of them, when he saw that he was healed, he returned. So the second step in a life of gratitude is to notice, be conscious of the good things that you are grateful for in life. When he saw, this leper had been leprous all his life. He noticed a change in his life. He noticed something good had happened in him. Of course, the full picture will have been, he goes to the priest, he gets certified. But the importance of that good thing that had happened in his life was so strong. He counted it, he acknowledged it, he noted it. The other 9 didn't react to it. Yeah, I've been healed, so what? And they continued on their journey to go get certified. You see, whenever you count the good things that God has done for you, it changes something on your inside. Look at your whole life. Maybe you are just a teenager. Look at the number of things that God had done for you. There have been school shootings, tragic events. Maybe there has been none in your school. Your life hasn't been marred by living with the knowledge that a close friend of yours went to school and didn't come back. But you did. There are people who never go past adolescence. And there are children who never leave the hospital. But you did. And you have a life, a whole future ahead of you, God willing. So it pays to pause and count the good. That is a basic definition of gratitude, to count the good. And as you do that, something changes inside us. That is the primary motivation that made these guys say, look, this is a big change in my life. This is tremendous. Who is responsible for this? Let me go and be thankful and show some gratitude to this person and express my thanks to this person. So when we count the things, there's an old song that says that count your blessings, name them one by one, and you see what God has done for you. But beyond seeing what God has done for you, it sets you on the path of gratitude. Because those things that you have counted, they become milestones in your life that you look back onto and helps you to deal with the future. helps you to see that, look, the same person who kept me during COVID, when people were dying around me, there are in millions around the globe. But I've traveled, I've worked, I've lived, and I've survived COVID. The same person who did that. Whatever life throws at me, he can be able. So it goes past just a lifestyle. It strengthens your faith. It helps you to gain more out of God. Because at the end of this conversation, Jesus said, your faith had made you whole. Wasn't that person whole already? He was. After all, the leprosy is gone. But Jesus pronounced more into this person's life. He alerted him to many more things, good things that have or will come into his life because of what he just did. He came back and gave glory to God. And he says, your faith has made you well. Other translation has made you whole. That word made you well means made you whole. Not just the physical healing, but emotional, psychological, all the other things that perhaps he couldn't see at the time. They all came in because he showed gratitude. And that is what it is with us. When we wake up first thing in the morning and we look at the ceiling, that there is a roof over our head, and we will go down and make ourselves a cup of coffee, go into the garage, take a car, and drive to work. That feeling alone does something to us. And we should cherish it. We should catalog those moments and keep them because they help us through life and everything else that we go through. The other thing also that we should do, besides cataloging the good things that have happened in our lives, is that we should externalize, try our best to vocalize our gratitude and our appreciation, not just of God, but of others. You see, it's hard to be around people who are not thankful. It's so hard. Even God has problem with those. So he tells us in Psalm 100 that enter his gates with thanksgiving, and you enter his gates with thanksgiving. Being thankful for everything. That's the primary access we have to when we are talking about our relationship with God. Being thankful. So God expects us to do that. But beyond that, we should be able to express thanksgiving to others. I've been around friends and people. It's so hard to hear them say thank you. Sometimes maybe even our spouses, people we live with and share intimate moments with. When they are not thankful, it hurts us. So that should tell us that being able to vocalize and express our gratitude to others is healing for those other people as well, the recipients. If your boss never said thank you to you for all the hard work that you do, it strains the relationship you have, not just with that boss, but with that whole organization. So it is good for us to vocalize, to say thank you. Sometimes you are driving in bad traffic and you want to merge, and somebody gives you access. It's okay to signal, hey, I appreciate that, thank you. Those little moments don't only apply just for God and to ourselves, but to others as well. In 2 Samuel 9 verse 1, when David came to the throne, he did something which maybe could have been a political suicide. He had opportunity to wipe out the whole house of Saul. But that is unlike David. He wouldn't use evil methods to get good results. Yeah, he wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. But his basic nature is that he really wanted to do what is right every time. So when David came to the throne, one of the things that he did, which is so profound and helps us today in our discussion of gratitude, is this. In 2 Samuel 9 verse 1, now David said, is there still anyone who is left of the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake? He had no need to do that. After all, he's now the new king and everything he wished he would have. So why bother? But David remembered the good thing that Jonathan did for him. In the heat of he being a fugitive, when things were bad, Saul had his army trying to kill him. Even though he was Saul's son-in-law. In all of those difficult moments, Jonathan stood beside David, protected him, even right through to the point when he died. He still had David as his friend. It didn't make sense because he should have eliminated David, so he would have been the next king, but he didn't do that. And David respected that friendship. And so when he came to the throne, he remembered the act of kindness that Jonathan did to him. And he said, look, is there anybody left of the house of David, the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness? Not because of myself, but just because of the good thing that Jonathan did for me. You see, we need to show gratitude to people around us. If you are a boss in a company, be grateful. Be grateful even for the janitorial staff who keep the environment clean. Be grateful for your admin assistant who keeps your calendar and makes sure that your meetings happen. Be grateful. Show gratitude. A little note of appreciation goes a long way to make somebody's world a better place. Be grateful. I've worked with good bosses and I've worked with awful bosses. The difference between them is that those who are good see me as a person, not as a unit of production. They saw my humanity. In the same way, let's do the same for the people around us. That neighbor who always waves at you, wave back. Tell him, hey, how is your day going? Right? Your own family, show gratitude. So, one way of expressing or walking in gratitude is being able to express appreciation of others. Don't just focus on yourself and your world. Don't just focus on your pain alone. Make that extra effort to show appreciation of others because they have done good to you. And that is what David did. When he came to the throne, he remembered the good thing that Jonathan did for him. And he said, is there anybody, just anybody, that I can show appreciation to? You see, however long it has taken, write that note to that person who did you. Say, hey, I recall when we were in high school, you did this to me. Thank you. I remember that. It may have taken 20 years. A lot of water might have passed under the bridge. But reach back and say thank you. It does you good. It does that person also good. The last point that I want to share with you as we look at the subject of gratitude and how to live or walk in gratitude is to resist the effect of past events on your now and even perhaps in your future. We all have regrets in our lives, bad decisions perhaps that we made. Maybe you made a wrong choice and you lost a lot of money. Or maybe people betrayed your trust and let you down. And you have focused so much on those things over all these years, you just can't let it go. And so it makes you afraid to even trust people. It makes you afraid. And you are just focused in that world and locked you in. Perhaps sometimes in the inner recesses of our minds, those people have been chained to the wall. They are captives. Like some people say today, they are living in your head, rent free. That becomes a barrier to gratitude. Because you are just constantly focused on that negative event. One of the first steps to freeing yourself so you can be a person of gratitude is to retell yourself a different story around that event. For instance, you made a bad choice in a spouse and that marriage failed, or you lost your kids if under very trying circumstances, in a low point in your life, you are alienated from your family, and now you found yourself, you just don't know how to reconcile. You see, you have to tell yourself a different story. I remember a scene from the movie Shawshank Redemption when Morgan Freeman's character Red faced the parole board. One of the things that he did, I'm sure, I don't know whether that's what swayed the people to grant him parole, was what he said, and that really struck a chord with me. He recalled that event where I think somebody was killed. And he said, that young boy, that young person who went out there and did that foolish thing, it's long gone. You see, he told himself a different story based on his current circumstances. 20 plus years in jail gave him pause to reflect, and he built a new narrative. That young foolish boy who did that thing is long gone. So one of the things that you could do is to tell yourself a new story. Yes, I made bad choices, I made mistakes, but that happened a long time ago. I've learned my lesson now, and it's a new me, and it's a new life. When you do that, you begin to refocus not on the negative, but on the lessons learned in those processes. There's something that we say in my 9-to-5 job. I'm a process improvement scientist. Things fail, processes fail. But if we learn the lessons from those processes, then we have failed forward. So we may not get it perfect the first time, but we take the lessons learned from that first failure and we use it to design the new process. So being a grateful person, learning how to live in gratitude, is to not let the failures of our past define the way we live now or shape our future. We go back even in those recesses of our memories and we pick the lessons. And based on those lessons, we shape our future. And we tell ourselves that, hey, tomorrow will be a different world. When I make these decisions again, it will be a different story. I'm a different person. Even when I get a chance to remarry, it will be a different me, to be a different circumstance. So then, you are not grumpy. You are not focused on the negative and the things that didn't work. You are not preoccupied and, getting all gloomy and anxious. I don't really like the political narrative. But there's something that we can also learn from these movements that we are living in. Somebody lost an election, and they are so preoccupied with that loss. Maybe something robbed their ego. And whoever will listen, they will tell the whole world that they never lost. What this means is they've never learned the lesson of why they lost. And it will seem that because of that preoccupation, they want to do something to justify that they are wins. So they are constantly grinding. Even the world is not enough. Can't show gratitude. Can't be thankful because they need to always win. Gratitude is important in life because it takes us off that treadmill of anxiety, fear, always having to win. Being so narcissistic, focus on ourselves, and nobody else matters. We are never satisfied. When we are grateful people, we find a place of rest. Like Jesus told that person, your faith had made you whole, because you came back to engage with God with gratitude. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you don't already subscribe to this podcast, I encourage you to do that. Hit the subscribe button and let us hear from you. how this ministry is blessed. And above all, you can also download these episodes on Amazon, Spotify, Google, on all the places where you get your podcast. Thank you so much. Let's meet again next week as we look at the detriments of being ungrateful. There's a bad side to it if you are ungrateful. See you again. God richly bless you.
Fountain of my life, I worship you today. Lord, only you are. Yes, Lord. You restore my soul. I worship you today. Yeah.
The book of Matthew 11, 28 to 29. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest